I'm 85 years old. There was a time when that number would have meant something very different to me. I used to think 85 meant sitting in a comfortable chair, surrounded by family, telling old stories while someone listened. That isn't how it turned out. Now I sit in a small room at the end of a quiet hallway. The walls are clean. The staff is kind. Everything here is orderly, and yet something important is missing. It's not comfort. It's not care. It's presence. People often ask me if I'm afraid of dying. I'm not. What I'm afraid of is leaving without ever being seen again. I once lived a very full life. I worked hard. I provided well. I did everything a man was supposed to do. I believed that if I built enough, earned enough, gave enough, the rest would naturally follow. I didn't imagine that one day, silence would be the loudest thing in my life. At 85, time doesn't rush anymore. It waits. Days move slowly, and memories have a way of speaking louder than people do. I don't tell this story to blame anyone. I tell it because this is where my life has led me, and because there are things I wish I had understood sooner. For most of my life, I believed providing was the same as loving. I worked long hours. I missed dinners. I told myself it was all for my family, and in many ways, it was. I built a successful business. I earned more than I ever imagined when I was young. We lived well. There was security. There were opportunities. People respected me. My children never worried about money. I thought that was enough. When problems came up at home, I handled them the way I handled everything else. By fixing them, by paying for them, by moving on to the next responsibility. I didn't sit down often. I didn't ask many questions. I assumed my presence wasn't as important as what I was providing. My wife saw it more clearly than I did. She would sometimes say, quietly, "They need you, not just what you bring home." I would nod. I would promise things would slow down soon. Soon became later. Later became years. At the time, I truly believed I was doing the right thing. I thought love was measured in stability, comfort, and success. Only now, at 85, can I see what I misunderstood. Providing builds a life. But presence builds a relationship, and I spent too much time believing one could replace the other. My wife understood things long before I did. She saw what I was building, and what I was slowly losing at the same time. She never argued with me. She never demanded. She just said things quietly, usually at the end of the day when the house finally slowed down. "You work so hard," she would say, "but the children don't need more things. They need you." I always answered the same way, just a little longer. Once this project is done, when things settle down, I truly believed time was something I could manage, something I could postpone. She would look at me then, not angry, not disappointed, just tired, and sometimes she would say nothing at all. I didn't realize it then, but silence was already beginning. When she passed away, the house felt different immediately, not empty, just unfinished. She had been the one holding everything together, the bridge between me and the children, the voice that softened my edges. Without her, I lost more than a partner. I lost the person who kept reminding me who I was becoming. I thought I still had time to fix what I missed. I didn't understand that some warnings are only heard once. After my wife died, I felt unsteady in ways I didn't know how to explain. The house was still there. The money was still there. But the reason for holding on to any of it felt suddenly unclear. I was tired, not just physically, tired of carrying everything alone. So I made a decision that, at the time, felt responsible, even generous. I signed everything over to my children, the house, the savings, the things I had spent my entire life building. I told myself it was the right thing to do. I didn't want to be a burden. I wanted them to be secure. I wanted peace. And for a moment, it felt like relief. I believed that once the practical matters were taken care of, what remained would be family. I thought love would naturally fill the space money once occupied. I didn't realize how much power quietly disappears when you give away everything, including your independence. Without meaning to, I handed over more than assets. I handed over my place. I assumed that what truly mattered would stay no matter what. I was wrong. Some things only feel permanent when you still hold them. Moving into the nursing home wasn't sudden. It happened quietly, the way most big changes do at this age. At first, my children came by, not often, but enough. They asked how I was doing. They told me I would be fine here. I believed them. The visits became shorter, then less frequent, then replaced by phone calls that always seemed rushed. "I'll come by soon. Things are busy right now. Next week, I promise." Next week never came. Months passed, then years. At some point I stopped counting time by calendars and started counting it by silence. 10 years. 10 years without a single visit. I don't say that with anger. I say it with honesty. I watched other residents wait by the door on weekends, hoping for familiar faces. Some of them had very little to their name, but they had something I didn't. They were remembered. Here, the days are gentle but repetitive. Meals arrive on schedule. Medications are given on time. But no one asks about your past. No one asks what you once built. And after a while, you start to feel as if your life has already ended, even though you're still breathing. That is the kind of loneliness no amount of comfort can fix. Loneliness doesn't come from being alone. It comes from being forgotten. There are people around me every day, nurses, orderlies, other residents moving slowly down the hall. This place is never truly empty, and yet I have never felt more invisible. When you are young, people ask what you do. When you are older, they ask how you're feeling, and eventually, they stop asking anything at all. No one here knows who I used to be. They don't know what I built. They don't know the decisions I made, the risks I took, the years I gave away. I'm not angry about that. It's just how things are. What hurts is realizing that the people who do know those things, the people who shared that life with me, no longer need to remember it. I watch men and women here who have nothing left except family. And when that family shows up, even briefly, something changes in them. They sit up straighter. They speak more clearly. They come back to life for a moment. I don't have that moment anymore. I've learned that comfort keeps the body alive. But connection is what keeps a person human. Without it, you don't disappear all at once. You fade quietly, while the world keeps moving without you. When people talk about regret, they usually think it has something to do with money. I don't regret losing it. Money did what it was supposed to do. It kept my family safe. For a long time. It gave my children opportunities I never had. What I regret is how often I chose work over presence. I regret the nights I came home late and told myself the children were already asleep. I regret the conversations I rushed through because I had something else to handle. I regret believing there would always be time to sit down and really listen. I thought being responsible was enough. I thought love could be shown later. But later has a way of disappearing. I regret not saying, "I'm proud of you," out loud. Not just assuming they knew. I regret not asking how they were really doing, instead of asking about grades, plans, or results. I don't regret the life I built. I regret the moments I missed while building it. Now, at 85, I understand something I didn't when I was younger. Children don't remember how much you provided. They remember how present you were. And presence is the one thing I can't give anymore. Sometimes I imagine my children walking through that door. I imagine the sound first. Footsteps in the hallway that don't belong to a nurse. Voices that hesitate, unsure of what to say. In my mind, they look older than the last time I saw them. Life has shaped them the way it shapes everyone. If they came, I wouldn't talk about money. I wouldn't talk about the house, or the business, or what was signed away. I wouldn't talk about the cancer either. I would talk about us. I would tell them I loved them more than I ever showed, that I thought providing was enough. And I was wrong. That I didn't always know how to slow down, even when I should have. I wouldn't ask them to stay. I wouldn't ask them to forgive me. I would just want them to know that their absence mattered, not because it hurt my pride, but because it reminded me how much they were always a part of me. Some conversations don't need to be long. They just need to be honest. Even now, that door stays closed, but the words remain, and I carry them quietly, hoping that somewhere, somehow, they might still be heard. If you are listening to me, there's a good chance you still have time. Time to call, time to visit, time to sit down without checking the clock. I'm not speaking as a father who was abandoned. I'm speaking as a man who understands how life pulls people away without asking permission. I know how busy the days feel. I know how quickly "I'll do it later" becomes a habit. I lived that life. And I can tell you this, later is fragile. Parents don't always know how to ask for your presence. We don't want to be a burden. We don't want to interrupt lives that are already full. So we stay quiet. We tell ourselves, "You're busy." We tell ourselves, "Next month will be better." We wait. And sometimes, waiting is all that's left. You don't need to fix anything. You don't need to solve old problems. You don't need to bring answers. You just need to show up. A visit doesn't have to be long to matter. A conversation doesn't have to be perfect. Presence is enough. I learned too late that time doesn't announce when it's about to run out. It simply does. I don't know exactly how much time I have left. At my age, no one speaks in numbers anymore. They speak in softer voices. They tell you to rest. So I do. Most days now are quiet. I sit by the window and watch the light change. I listen to footsteps pass my door. Most of them not meant for me. I'm not angry as I come to the end of my life. Anger takes energy, and I've made peace with many things. What I feel most is clarity. I understand now that success fades faster than relationships, that money moves on quickly, that what remains in the end is not what you owned, but who stayed. I don't know if my children will ever come. I've stopped waiting by the door. If they do, I will be grateful. If they don't, I will still go, knowing I finally told the truth, even if only here. This is how my life ends, quietly, without ceremony. Not because I wasn't loved, but because love was postponed too many times. If my story reaches you before it's too late, then perhaps this ending will mean something after all. And that is enough.